Hey, it's Willie Chang Wilkinson on how to navigate interactions appropriately. As a long-term LGBTQ cultural competency trainer, this is a question I'm often asked. People realize they made a mistake with clients, patients, colleagues, community members, customers, and they want to do better. And we do want to build rapport rather than interfere with trust building. So important to note, the US EEOC has proposed guidance that the intentional and repeated use of a name or pronoun inconsistent with an individual's gender identity or misgendering constitute actionable workplace harassment. So another reason why we want to do better on this. So let's think about how to avoid assumptions about people's gender identities, avoiding gendered language, introducing yourself and asking politely for clarification so you can ascertain what's appropriate, ideas about reminder tools, and how to apologize when a mistake has been made, because also very important. So again, we're talking about name and pronoun, the correct name, the name the person goes by, which might be different from the name on their ID or their medical or student record, and then pronouns, words used to refer to folks, he, him, his, she, her, hers, or they, them, theirs. Important to note, this is not preferred pronouns, this is intrinsic and true. So simply stating pronouns is fine. No need for another qualifying adjective. Important to note, there are many people who are using they, them, theirs pronouns. And it's the same as you use it for more than one person to describe one person. It's helpful to get fluent and comfortable with referring to one person as they. You conjugate it the same way you would if there was more than one person. They walked into the room. Give that to them. Is that their bottle? And if you're worried about grammar, no worries. The grammar folks have gotten over it. In fact, in the year 2019, Merriam-Webster, the dictionary, proclaimed they as the word of the year, especially because there's been so much use of they to describe a singular person. Also important to note, gendered languages like Spanish have come up with ways to be gender neutral. So for instance, ella is the gender neutral pronoun in Spanish, E-L-L-E. So what do you do when you're not sure what pronouns or gender terms are appropriate? Well, do you have this information anywhere? Is it on their name tag, their medical chart, their Zoom name, their email signature? And if not, it's nice to say, hi, my name is Willie, and I use he, him pronouns. For instance, what name pronouns do you use? I encourage people to ask politely, privately if possible, depending on the situation, for clarification. It's important to know rather than dance around or avoid pronouns. And also important to think, now what is the information you seek? What pronouns do you use? And when asking me, you would get he, him. But if you ask me, how would I like to be referred to, you might hear me say Willie or Mr. Wilkinson, for instance. So thinking about what's the information you'd like to receive. It's also helpful, depending on the situation, to be gender neutral, avoiding gendered language, and not making assumptions, such as ma'am or sir. Now, I think a lot of times people think, oh, this is a way to show respect. It's polite, but it may not be respectful if it's not in alignment with how folks identify their gender. So avoiding gendered language and thinking about how you can be gender neutral, use words like they, person, team, rock stars, even in Spanish, which is very gendered language. You can still say persona, cliente, estudiante, words that are gender neutral. Now, I think what's important here is understanding the impact of being misgendered. And if this is not your issue, it can be difficult to understand. There's no oppression that is quite comparable to being misgendered. Again, that's referring to someone or being referred to with the wrong name, pronouns, or other gendered language. And if you think about it, if you went through your life and repeatedly and over a long period of time, you were continually referred to with the wrong name, the wrong pronouns, you might think, who are they talking about? You might have some feelings about it. For people who are experiencing being misgendered, they may feel sad, mad, they may experience negative self-talk. It can be a very upsetting, ongoing stressor. It's an experience of not being seen. So it can impact people on an emotional, on a psychic, even physical level, and it can really interfere with access to healthcare, education, to your company, your products and services, and it's how people can fall through the cracks. Now, people get misgendered for different reasons. Sometimes it's because the person just didn't know. Sometimes it's because they knew, but they're still in an adjustment process of getting it right. And sometimes it's because people just refuse to respect a person's identity, and that can be particularly stressful. So when you realize you blew it, what do you say? I didn't know. I thought you were a man or a woman. No, maybe not. We won't go with that one. How about, this is silly. I get everyone's name wrong, and then go on for 10 minutes about how you get everyone's name wrong. Nah, maybe not. We won't go with that either. How about, would you say, I'm sorry I misgendered you. I see you and appreciate who you are. Okay. I mean, words to that effect, put your own spin on it. I think it's important to acknowledge what has transpired, that a mistake has occurred, and work to repair the harm because it is harmful and people do experience pain around this. And short and sweet is best. If you go any longer, the person ends up taking care of you. So, really, just short and sweet and acknowledgement and doing your best to do better in the future. So, what can you do to remind yourself to help you remember these things? You know, practice, practice, practice. Put their name and pronoun next to their picture. Really think about it and really do your best to do better. And think about, are there any barriers to you getting it right? And what can you do to overcome them? Also helpful to think about nonverbal communication. It speaks louder than words. And honestly, trans, non-binary, and gender expansive folks have dealt with people looking them up and down a lot, disdainfully. And so thinking about how you can show welcoming body language and facial expressions. The bottom line is it's about respecting the authenticity and validity of folks' identities, regardless of their hormonal or surgical status, what they look like, what they're wearing, what their hair is like, or if they've legally changed their name and gender. And remembering that in many jurisdictions, and even if it's not the case in your jurisdiction, it should be that people have the legal right to access services and the facilities in accordance with their gender identity, regardless of what they look like, regardless of if they legally changed their gender. Thank you for your commitment to LGBTQ affirming services. If you'd like to learn more about training, speaking engagements, or other services, please contact me through my website at williewilkinson.com.